Hello, listeners. Hi, my name is Madhavi, and I'm so happy to have you on UppTalk. You have come to the right place if you want to learn about IT and do really cool things with your hands. We are not just another IT company when I say UppTalk. Think of us as your learning partner dedicated to helping you reach your full potential. We have top notch hands on courses to help you build your business, whether you are new to technology or want to move up in your current job. Let's look around this as our first step towards learning.
Start the new interesting topic of the core integrations. Right now, what we have seen is getting the data from Workday, but viewing it inside Workday, or the maximum we have seen is sharing it as a web service, right? Output. We have seen creating a report and you go to the web service, view URLs and share the URL with the other person, other system. That is a kind of an integration, which is a report as a service. Remember this term, RAS, right? Workday, when we expose a report, custom report as a web service, it is a RISE API. And in Workday, we call it as RAS, RAAS report as a service. That's the thing to remember and to say because when you will use those terms, you will sound like a Workday guide, which is paint. But before that, this is the guide that we will go. This is a Workday documentation which I used during my certification way back in 2016, but that's a 2018 version. In Workday, actual Workday certification. They also teach the same stuff which we will be covering as part of the integration course. We will start Workday integrations. There are different types of integrations that we do. One of them was that web service, one which is a report as a service that we saw. Now to start with, we will start with the connector. Let me write down here for you. And feel free to take screenshots in between whenever you need. Right? Connectors. You have document transformation. Right. These are just the types of integrations that I'm writing here. Then you have EIB and you have Workday Studio and you have that's how you write it. We have seen this part web services. We will see what they delivered one later. These are the 4 types of integrations that we will cover in this course. But this one, as I told you, will be just the introduction because that's a separate training altogether. But these are the 3 things that we will focus on along with this part which we will do. Right? Now, what are these things? We might have covered the overview in the first session, but yes, we will go into detail of each one. Today, we will start with the connectors. And as you know, in my first session, I drew some diagrams like this, right? Where I was saying that, say, there is a need of connecting, sending data from Workday to this system, or in sometimes it is the reverse way. Right, right. And this is Workday. This is say your benefit vendor. This is say your credit card vendor. This is your system, say Active Directory or something like that. These are different system external to Workday. Right? Benefit vendors in US. The people who are in use, like Jyoti and Vikram, you might be knowing there are different benefit vendors. For and each employee have a tie-ups with those vendors like PSP, WageWorks, Anthem, UMR, Delta. Right, right. These ones which are very common. Anywhere you go, there are those set of vendors from which an organization will choose. What Workday did, Workday knew that these are the set of vendors which will always remain the same. Now, these vendors have a very specific requirement, like their system is standard. Whatever is the client, their system is one right. They have a specific file format type, which they call it as IP8 and 34 format. It's a specific format. They need that. Any system, any HR system which is sending them the employee data, and employee data in the sense like and for. Aksha, just to explain, like for example, if you're part of a company, right? You have your this insurance provider, right? Health insurance. The company provide you an insurance, right? You have to opt for it. And it's sometimes some companies provide you the dependent benefit as well. But sometimes you have to opt for it because you have to pay some extra. On your HR portal, you select, yep, I want the insurance for the dependents as well. The benefit vendor needs that data in order to deduct that amount from your salary. Right? This is that integration. Normally, it's there whenever you have benefit vendors in scope. What they need is any employee who has enrolled in their plan, you need to send us their data. Right. When I say data, it's their standard stuff, name, biograph, this demographic data and all that. They're there, SN and they're all that. Now what they knew that it is a standard file, it's a standard set of data. What they did, they already created an integration. They did the coding, and they provided that to us in the tenant as a connector, right? They named it as a connector. Now for those connectors, the code is not visible to us. It is just a configuration. And Workday also found out that if, say, company A is integrating with the benefit vendor, it has a different plan name, it has different IDs, like the client ID, and some things are different which will vary. What they did is they put those things as a configurable value. When you use this connector, there are some fields which you can configure as per your need. That's basically a connector. Right. Now there are two types of connectors. One is a package connector and one is a kind of a generic connector. Now packaged connector is something which is very specifically made for a particular vendor. Right. Now Workday has integration with VSP. There is a connector for VSP. There is a connector for WageWorks. There is a connector for each UMR. There is a connector for each benefit vendor. Now, since that connector is very specific to that vendor, meaning you cannot use it for anything else, it becomes a packaged connector. When it is a generic, like say for example, Active Directory. Active Directory is an employee provisioning. You know that kind of system. For that, what they need is they need any employee which is hired. They should get to know any employee who is terminated, any employee promoted, and all that stuff. They need to get all the changes related data. If anything has changed on any employee, you need to tell us that they can update their system. If the department got changed or manager got changed, that an Active Directory is kind of linked to your Outlook. When you see in your Outlook, right, If you click on your name, your email, it shows your contact card and it shows you report to whom, what is your department, your location, and all that. And that's why it is a general functionality. It is not specific to a vendor. You can send that data to any vendor. That's why it is a generic connector. Sending the employee data, and the name of that connector is Core Connector Worker, a very common connector in Workday. And it's a connector which Workday also teaches in its integration course. We will see that Core Connector Worker, which is a generic connector, package connector, we saw benefit vendor and also credit card vendors. As part of your organization, say if you have to travel for a business purpose, sometimes your organization provides you a corporate credit card. Meaning, if you go travel on site or anywhere, if you have to spend something, you can use that corporate card and company will pay for it, right? That is again an integration. That it will be integrated with that credit card provider. There are three providers: MasterCard, Visa, Amex. This integration is to bring in all the credit card transactions into the Finance Your Expense system. And it will show up that when you have to create an expense report, everything will get populated. Any questions for? What is a connector? Right? Connector is a pre-packaged integration already built by Workday and provided to us as a connector which we can configure according to our need. It is of two types. One is package connector, one is generic connector. One is generic connector. Packaged connector is the one which is made specifically for a vendor. And a generic one is for a generic functionality. The very common example is Core Connector Worker is a generic connector, while Package Connector is connector with credit card vendors, benefit vendors, and all that. This is a new one. Clear for? Clear for. Now let's see in the tenant first. As I told you right, these connectors are already available. Then you will ask that where can we see that right? There is a task which you can write it down and note the integration template catalog. It shows up like this. If you open it, it shows all this template name is nothing but the connectors available. These all, the first column is the connectors which are available. And here is the category what it is. Cloud Connect for HCMM, Cloud Connect for payroll, Cloud Connect for benefits. It is just again the category, just like I told you how you tag your reports. Similarly, Workday has tagged, like all this, VSP, Kaiser, MetLife, United Healthcare. Cloud Connector or Core Connector, both are same or it's just the name. Cloud Connect, Core Connect, whatever it is. Normally it is a connector. Call it Cloud Connect, Cloud Connector for payroll, Cloud Connector for benefits. It is just a name, but the actual connector name is here. Right. All benefits one are here. You have for like, say, and if you have to search, as I told you, it is a report which has run, right? If you click on this one, you can filter. Like say, for example, I want to check for MX. I just write MX filter and it will show me all the ones which are available for MX. And here is the description for them. Right. Now, if you see there are some connectors, in the end it's written do not use. That means don't use them, because Workday has a plan to deprecate them, meaning you are seeing it right now, but probably in the coming releases they might be out. Workday does that, gives you at least 2, 3 releases that you migrate, you move to another one which is available, right? Like all the others which are there. That any other vendor you think, let's check whether a connector is available for that. But the vendor should not be a local vendor, but yes, a well-known vendor which you think. Is there any system, any organization, like there are any vendor in mind, like ADP is one, right? Which is very common for payroll stuff and all that, tax filing and all that. Is it for benefits or payroll only? You're looking at all, whatever. There is any piece of United Healthcare, right? We just saw that. It was their United Health, right? United Healthcare, Medical Delta Vision, United Healthcare FSA, United Healthcare Cobra. That too for dependents, participants, and all that. It's all there. Meaning, what we first see is whenever you get a requirement for integrating or sending data to the vendor or importing data from the vendor, the first thing is to come here and check. But check what first? You need to know the vendor. This is the vendor. Then we come here and see, is there any connector available for that vendor? If yes, then we will see the description that does this connector meets a requirement or not. If yes, we will definitely use that. That's the first thing. Connector is the go-to thing because Workday has spent time on building that, right. Their development team, product development team, has done efforts connecting with that vendor, getting the requirement, doing the coding, and presenting you as a connector. That's what is the first choice, because the benefit for that is, say, we are integrating with United Healthcare, right? After 1 year, United Healthcare is undergoing a system upgrade, right? As part of that, they have updated their file specification, right? Now, since we are using the connector, we don't have option to do any change, right? What will happen? Workday will take care of that. Any code change which is needed, Workday will do that as part of their weekly maintenance or any such stuff. We don't have to worry about. Can you repeat the question? For IRS, usually in payroll, you create flat file with tax deductions and all, right. Is there a connector for that in payroll? In people software? I think there is this one. The tax filing periodic, quarterly and monthly. So, this one. That's the place. They will send the file to IRS, not directly to IRS. Depend. IRS will have to provide us the details of where we have to send the file, and we can configure that. I think in this situation, a DP is the payroll company. You're sending all the info to them. They will send it to IRS on this company's behalf, right? Probably. I have not worked on that much, but can be. It looks like IRS. Is there anything for IRS? What is that? Something else. This is the place. Integration template catalog, where you see that. Remove filters. This is all there. Now let me go back to this part. As I was telling, Workday connectors are the pre-built template that provides you functionality to connect with different external vendors and all that stuff. I will be sharing this document with you. You can go through it. We are not covering this whole document in one shot. We will be doing it in 2-3 sessions and we'll be covering the main things, not everything here. But yes, you can go through. It's worth a read. And why the reading is important is you will get to learn the terms, how to talk. If somebody asked you what's a connector, right? If you have read this right, you will know the terms in your mind. You can talk. These are the pre-built integration templates and all that, which helps us in connecting with different vendors and all that. Is the connector like HLA bridge? Meaning, when you said IP HPA, is it the bridge name or is it the policy you're talking? It's the file name. If you search here, API N34 format, right? It's a file format which is used for communication between employee benefit plans and insurance plans. It's a form. It's an international standard. Right. Similarly, in banking, when you send the payment files to the bank, this is the very common format. It's ISO standard for financial institutions sending the payment data and all that. Right. Thank you. Thank you. What we see here, this is the architecture. Again, as I told, Workday is an object management system where everything is stored as objects. Then you have this integration server and all that. This is no use. Forget about it. This is make sense. When you see this is the cloud, here is the Workday cloud in that. This cloud represents your tenant. In your tenant, you have all your applications, here web services, APIs and all that. Different modules are part of this. Also, when you create these integrations and all that, they have their own processing. It is not different. It is part of the same tenant. Everything you do. It's not that you will be using a separate tool for creating these integrations. It's the same tenant. And that's where you create. Cloud Connect, which is the connector, is part of it. Custom integrations that we will create is part of it. And we connect with different applications. This is a kind of a basic high-level structure. This flow is important, which says what is an inbound integration. Right? The flow. Say there is an external system. There are two ways. Either there will be a file or they will expose a web service. You will consume, read the file from the server or call their web service, get the data. Right. And then loading anything into Workday is via web services. You will call the required Workday web service and load data into Workday. Even though there are methods like inbound EIBs, which is in PeopleSoft, you have Excel to see, I write. Similar functionality, but again at the back end, it also calls the web service. Then you have the outbound flow where you extract the data from Workday. For extracting data, again, there are two ways, either the web service or the report. And then you send the data out. You may have to do the transformation in between. If the vendor needs data in very specific text file, CSV file or something like that, then you might have to do a transformation in between. And then comes the connectors, right? Again, two types end-to-end, which is also called a package connector, or you say end-to-end connector because they are specifically made for that particular functionality or a vendor. And then there is this generic connector, which is a generic functionality, not vendor specific. like Core Connector Worker is an example of this. Integration building blocks, and we will see this. But before that, let me show you how for creating. Suppose, for example, let me tell you, say you are part of PeopleSoft, right? You are implementing PeopleSoft HCM and Finance. You got a requirement to integrate with MasterCard. The requirement is MasterCard will send you a file, and then you will have to read the file and load it. Load the transactions into Workday, right? How long will it take? Jayotri Vikram, you have PeopleSoft background. How much time will it take in PeopleSoft to create that interface? Any random timeline? 2 to 3 days. 2 to 3 days. That too, when you have everything in place. Right? Now let's see in Workday. Right. For creating integration in Workday, the task is create integration. Create integration system. Let me write. Create integration system. Now you have to give the name. And for creating integration, like for report, we used CR underscore. For calculated field, we use CF underscore. For integration, the recommendation is to use INT. Each project will have their own convention. Sometimes INT is only one, meaning INT and the number. Point underscores are on one. That depends. But INT is there to specify that this is integration, right? Let me say INT underscore test. Now what we are doing, we are integrating with MasterCard. Right. My first thing will be to check whether a connector exists for MasterCard or not. Right. Let me cancel. And then what's the task? Integrate. Patient template catalog. Right. And I will just search here. I will write MasterCard and filter. Yep, there are import MasterCard. CDF3 file unmask. Unmask, it says do not use. Mask. I will come here now using template. MasterCard. And then this one click on. Now, this is all what Workday has already done. Whatever you see here, we cram to your question, what do we configure in a connector? First is there are services which you can enable, disable, right? There are services for different functionalities, and then there are some services, we will talk about that again. But yes, by default, I've just clicked on. Then you have attributes. These attributes are the configuration which we can do to do that. You click here. Related action integration system. Configure integration attributes. Now here is as per our need, as per the client need. At that, and here is the description. It says alternate account identifier. Configure this field. If you are using remittance file, select the path to this and all that. This is something which you can ask to your functional counterpart, and then you can click on plus and enter values whatever you need, right? This is the one update. Only select to make only update when you run integration. Set this to true and all that. Truncate leading zeros on employee 8. Sometimes your employee 8 are Zal under 123. If you click on this, it will remove the zeros. It will just use 1234. All right. And then some configurations like this, right? You did that, click on. This is done. And then you have something in maps where you can map what is the external value versus inside value, meaning in the file. If it is sounded, it is purchase. If it is 0 to 1, it is 80 cash withdrawal. 12 is cash disbursement. This Workday already knew that everywhere it's the same MasterCard uses the same mapping. But say if they have changed it for your client, you can update it. Right? You update it. Why go here? Configure integration maps and then you can update it here. You can change to a different value and then your integration is done. Your build is complete. 5 minutes, not even that. The main thing goes into is testing, the main effort, because you have to ask for a test file and then you run it and all that, right? Integration. You have the option of launch. You launch it and then before that you have to just configure the retrieval, the path from where you will get the file, and we will see that in when we do the integration in detail. The connector again, but this was just to show you how we create connector, what components it has. It has services, attributes, maps. Security is something which comes by default. You don't do anything here but maps, attributes, services. This is all what we do and your build is done. Connector build connector has the least effort of, the developer's effort. I can create an integration in 10 minutes. Basically, out of the box connector, right, we just build it. We just, use it and then configure it as per our need. Like here, attributes you as per your need. You just put the right values and that's it done. There is no coding. No code is exposed to you. You cannot change anything. You cannot customize it. Customization work then knows what customization a client can have and they have provided you as that configuration. That's it. Will we have all these? Define the connector for the banks. And all right, for banks, because every bank, there are many banks. It is not bank specific. It is the functionality specific. Like for bank statement, right? Very common thing. But you have to finance, you have to in finance, load the bank statements. For that, we do have a connector, right? If you go here, do you know, have you worked on bank statements before? Any one of you? PeopleSoft, I've worked on it. Right, you have worked on it. Bank statement has a very particular file format. It is 3 types. Either the format will be MT940 either, or it will be BY2, or it can be ISO 2022, which is KMT053. 3 of them. There is nothing else apart from this. Only if there is, then it's not a standard. It is the bank specific thing, but these 3 are international. Any bank will support this. If I have to create that, I'll just write bank statement. And it will show me import BAI to import ISO to ISO 2000 and import MT940. Right. You just choose, click on. I think this one doesn't need any configuration. Click on. And that's it done. What is this alert? Integration retrieval. We have to do. That's fine. A retrieval is because you have to configure. Why it is just a minute. Configure integration services. Just enable all. Right. Now it shows up. And that's it done. You have these attributes and these maps map. Here you have the configuration that sometimes say in the file you are getting account as 123, but in Workday the same account is set up as 123_A. Right? You can do that mapping here. mapping and load. Right. And in the attributes, you have just very few things, nothing to configure. That's it. Now what you need is the FTP details from the bank, where the bank will put a file. You need to know that folder details, and we will configure that, and you're good to launch and test. It's FTP only, right? All the integrations and all file based. They are FTP based, but there are other options as well, which we will see in our coming classes. Right now, what I'm showing you is that how easy a connector is. Specifically, when it's a packaged connector, it is just 2-minute job. Actually, for each connector, there will be only one integration. Right? The definition, like what we will, it depends. Right? For example, say 94. I have used this one. Right. Now you have 5 banks. You will create 5 integrations. Each one will use the same template, meaning it is not right. The name will be different, but the template will be the same. Template will be the same. And do they have, in A, don't they? Any scheduler is there. Everything. We are going to do everything in the same screen which you are seeing here. Screen in the sense not the same thing. We will do navigate and all that, but everything will be here. No separate tool, nothing. No scripted, like auto schedule, like usually correct. For that, we will cover it separately, but that's a very small thing. You see, here you can launch it or schedule it. You click on launch. Instead of here saying run now, you will say recurrence hourly, daily, weekly, monthly. Say I wanted daily recurrence. You click on, and then you give the time. You start time zone. And then start what day it starts and what day it ends. Click on. If the file is not there check it will do. Then it will fail. The connector will do it will give you warning, or some connectors will fail. It depends on the functionality, right? Workday knows, say, if it is bank specific, it knows that there can be some days where file will not be there. Correct. The integration will complete with warning saying no files found. Any duplicacy, like suppose say there is a schedule done and also some manual step, like they have done a redo. It will throw an error like no, it will not, because you are manually doing something. How will the system knows that it is? It should not. For example, an integration is scheduled to run at 6 a.m. and you have run it at 5 a.m., but the 6 a.m. will already also run. You have to manually, if you have done. Basically, the data will be duplicate, right? It will accept. Again, depends. Say you are loading the bank statements, right? Each bank statement has an ID. Say if you have loaded a file. Now again, after that, somebody is trying to manually upload the same file using that integration, right? The integration will fail. And the errors will be that the bank statement with the same account number and same date already exists in. It will not load it. Some checks are already done in the checking the bank. For connectors, You don't have to worry because Workday will take care of all error logging, generating the log file, the audit files, everything Workday will do. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@therightuptalk.com.